I don't know, like, she's out there. You're the Florida version of Sex in the City, JD.
That's when I was smoking my cigar.
Don't be an asshole today. So we're good.
Okay.
We're recording.
Okay.
Jay,
Hey.
this is we've been talking about this all week. We're so excited. I mean,
Totally.
you're like an legend, icon status, at this point. So
I wouldn't go that far, but thank you for the compliment.
Oh, for sure.
I would just want to tell you a really quick story. Back when I was doing the Lesbian Lounge in 2008, 2009, Curve Magazine listed us as one of the top 10 podcasts, and it was life changing. Like, it was one of those moments where when we found out, we had to like do the dance, like do
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope it increased your
it did
you say viewership?
It really
audience.
Yeah, our downloads, started going up, and it was so much easier to get guests. We were scratching and clawing for like 3 years trying to get guests and everything, and it was seriously, it was life changing, and it's I mean, I feel like I owe it all to you, like being in this position.
Well, not all to me, but I do. I'm glad it was helpful. I really am.
Yeah,
hey, what are you drinking there?
Oh my gosh, I had
I'm like, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's late here in London. This is called Red Leg, and it's 1886 cola, which is a brand of cola here that's really hard to get, but it has the rum mixed in it, and it's a spiced rum.
It is 5 o'clock somewhere.
It is. It's 10 o'clock here in London. I feel it's really appropriate to have a little nighttime cocktail.
Nice. It's actually 5 o'clock here.
So you
raced in, but me, I look at me. I have my classic Coke today. I
have my guilty pleasure, Boba Tea. And I'm saving the boba till the
that's taking off. Boba Tea's getting big, honestly.
What is that? Is that an herbal tea or?
Nope, it's whatever kind of tea you want, but the kick is these little tapioca balls at the bottom. It's like a Taiwanese thing.
Oh.
And they're like little chewy kind of, I don't know what they are, but and you drink it through a big straw. And I swear they must put crack in here because it's so addictive.
It is, yes.
There's probably like, I don't know, 10 of these places within a 10K of my like there's just tons of them.
They're popping up everywhere. I never even heard of them until my wife is from Australia, and it was big over there before making its way over. And she always talked about it, and boba tea is a big deal. Jay, I think Florida will be next. It'll be popping up all over.
Yeah, and I'll get to it in 20 years because usually I'm 20 years behind. But
I'm off to Gainesville in a couple days, Gainesville, Florida, and they got boba tea there. So
okay,
right. It's making its way down.
Yeah,
it'll be in Boca, Fort Lauderdale. Maybe it's in Miami. It'll probably
I'm sure it's there.
us and get to Miami. Yeah. But I am so excited also that you're on the show. I read your story of how you started Curve, and I was so inspired by that. The leap of faith you took to there's a story, you maxed out your credit cards.
I did.
You bet on a horse.
Several horses.
Several horses. Okay. And you won, and you had enough money to get started with your magazine. That is such an amazing story. I saw the documentary. I loved it. I bought it so I could watch it again. And wow, like how did you know, like how did you do that? How did you get the courage to do that?
Was that a gut instinct, do you think?
Well, I think it's a few things. First off, I have a history with horses and horse racing because my dad was very into it, and my grandfather was, you know, worked the track as a, you know, I don't want to say what he did, but you know, he was involved in gambling, so I kind of grew up around it. And so I didn't go in there blind, but it definitely was like, okay, well, this will either work and it's supposed to be, or it won't, and I'll be, by the time I'm 30, the, you know, the bankruptcy will be off my record. So I was just like, you know, just, I think when you're young, you can like take chances, you know. When you're old like I am now, it's harder to take chances. And you know,
but did you feel like the need for this magazine, that was your
need?
I never questioned it for a second. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. This is going to happen.
Yeah, there was definitely a need for that. So
yeah. And it felt so like, it was like our Bible, you know what I mean? Like the monthly Curve magazine was like, I remember standing at my door just like with my hand out waiting. The day it was coming, I knew what time it was being delivered. And I remember even like when I moved, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to get it, and I would have to switch over. I slowly had to switch over to Diva magazine, because like now I'm in the UK, you know.
Yeah.
I had to be a Diva girl. But you know, the way everything is moving like digitally, you know, I didn't even feel the effect. I was like, I could still access it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I just didn't want to be without it. It's just, it's so impressive, you know, like it was like the like whatever you read in there, you know, like it was like you were in the know. Especially for us, like, Jay, don't you feel, because we're East Coast lesbians, we needed that to know what was going on the West Coast.
Exactly.
You know, like we didn't have that kind of access. That was our window to know what was happening in West Coast lesbian land.
I mean, imagine if you felt that way, how, you know, the isolated woman in the middle of, you know, Nebraska felt. Like,
exactly. Yes.
You know,
and it was my dream to be in Curve also, because I was starting my music career then, and I was like, oh, I want to get in that magazine. And it was just, you know, I you know, at that point, like, you got in, which was great. You got to mention Denise. That was awesome. But
I still have it. I brought it with me when I moved. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh God, yeah.
Nice.
So when I saw when I messaged you and I saw on the L Word, the new generation, the new L Word, the reboot, that they had Alice on the cover,
I know,
a mock cover, I was like, I wonder if Franco has seen this, because I noticed it like the 20th time I watched it, because I was watching them. There wasn't enough of those for me. So
I know.
And I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. That was
Isn't it crazy that you saw it and I didn't?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say,
like, you would think that I would just be able to pick. I was like, wait a second, is that, they did a good job making it look real. It looked real, you know?
They did. You know, I wonder, Franco, when things like that happen, does it have the same effect as it did back when you were starting, or has the shine worn off a little bit and you're kind of used to it and just give it a nod, or is it still like,
it's still awesome? It's still amazing, you know?
And
it was cool too, because Leisha was on the front cover of that fake magazine, and she has been on the cover of the magazine quite a few times. And in the Ahead of the Curve movie, I don't know if you noticed her as a little baby dyke at one of our booths saying, "We love you, Curve."
I'm gonna have to go back and look.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Everybody's grown so much. What are some of the things that you think along the way have stuck with you?
What a miracle it was and is to have, you know, 30 years of iconic magazine like that just survive, you know, because the community wanted it so much. And, you know, I just think through the movie, it's kind of coming back to light of like, how this contributed to
Sure.
queer women's culture.
Yeah.
And, I never stopped feeling gracious that, it wasn't just me.
No.
So many people put their heart and souls into that magazine and, took a chance right along with me. So
that's pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the more you tell our stories, the more it changes people's lives. No one can tell our stories like we can tell our stories.
That's true.
It's true. It's got to come from us. It's got to come from us. People, there's never not going to be a hunger, like for our, there's always going to be like the consumption, like you want to know what's going on and who's doing what and who's in this and who's producing that. And, and the way everything is changing now, like our landscape is changing. And, over time, it's gone from like, butch and femme, like to now we've got this vast landscape, of identities, and it's become so diverse. It just means more material, there's more there that you want to consume. I just feel like it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. That's the best part of it, is that, we're never too old to learn. And I feel like every time I pick it up or look at it, I learn something new. I learn how they want to identify. I learn their pronouns, or I learn about a project that finally got funded, or, those things that you just, there's just always something there, it's amazing. It's just absolutely amazing to me. And you've worked with some quality people.
Oh, for sure.
It's like, I don't want to ask this, but I feel like I have to.
No, you don't. No, you don't have to.
This is like, which cat is your favorite?
Yeah.
No, is there somebody that you gelled with, so well, like that you knew this person was the right fit to be working at the magazine?
Oh boy, so many people. Like when I first started the magazine, we had no money, and I hung up a sign in the window of the gay bookstore in the San Francisco Castro district where I was working. It just said writers and photographers wanted for New Lesbian magazine. And, someone would call up to be like, yeah, well, I'm a photographer for the San Francisco Chronicle. Do you need photographer? I'm like, wait, what? Okay, I'm an editor for the San Francisco Business Times. Do you have an editor? I'm like,
wow.
It's like it was meant to be. I kid you not.
Yeah, that's quality. Like you weren't getting some like high schooler that's like looking for an internship, and because they want to major in journalism. Like that's fantastic.
Yeah, but the thing is, it did let us give back to people like that.
Right.
And to kind of foster this next generation, which is something through the newly founded Curve Foundation that we're really trying to focus on right now.
It's perfect timing, isn't it? I mean, if you think about, especially with the pandemic and everything, people having to, do their schooling from home or do their education from home, and all the people that were, graduating around that time that were ready, all fresh faced to jump into their work life. And then that happens. So it's a great time for something like that. It's helping so many people. That's amazing. Who came up with that? Was that just something everybody said, we need to do this?
I think it was more of a focus group that we put together. It was like, okay, what is the next phase for Curve? What does the community need now? And we really decided it was to help us tell our stories. So to help the queer women and non-binary people in our community to tell their stories, because like I said, who can tell our stories like we can? And one of our programs is emerging journalists. So taking not necessarily young, but early career, even if that means switching careers, journalists, and giving them mentorship and financial resources and coaching and So, and then the other project we've been working on is archiving, the 30 years of Curve and Geneva magazine, so that anyone who wants to can look at every single issue for free online and search them. And, it's no small undertaking.
Oh yeah. But it's the way of the future.
Yep.
I love what you're doing on the Curve Community Facebook page, where
thanks.
people could tell their stories, and the love is love, show me yours. Like, I love that you give that platform to people to tell their stories, because I believe that too. Everyone's got a story and no one can tell it like they can. And sometimes people think they have the most ordinary life, and then you hear about their story of their life, and it could be a TV show or something, so I think that I love that you do that, because I don't think no one's really doing that to the way you're doing it, giving that outlet for people to write their story. I think you're so insightful to see what's needed in the community and to put it out there for the people in the community. I'm inspired.
Thanks. The great thing is the Curve community, I'm able to do that Facebook page, and I don't, it's something free for the community. It's not a charge thing. It's accessible to anyone that has a phone or, whatever. So yeah, just trying to keep it real.
It's a nice.
Who was the first? I'm sorry.
No, go, Jay. Go ahead.
Who was the first person that was the biggest celebrity, like the first big celebrity you got to be on the cover of Curve, where you were like, oh my God, we got this person?
Melissa Etheridge.
I thought so.
So she did so much for the magazine, and then was later in the film, and she's just a good quality, person who says, all right, I owe the community a lot, which I'm like, you don't owe the community a lot. I mean, like, we owe you a lot. Your coming out has allowed so many people to just be like, well, if she can do it and risk everything, then so can I.
She's so generous. Yeah, she's really generous with her time.
Yeah.
She said that in the documentary, that she was, or I forget, was it you that said you were excited when you got her? And she said that she felt like she needed to do that for the community. But I didn't know if she was like the first celebrity that was, wow, we got her. And I had a feeling that was her. That's amazing.
I think my jaw dropped when I was like, wait, they said yes? Like, for real, yes?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's what I said. She's so just generous with her time. I interviewed her for She Mag a long time ago, and I felt like we, if I hadn't heard the ice cream truck, because I was doing the interview and it was hell over here, and I heard the jingle of the ice cream truck, and I was like, oh, Melissa, I'm gonna wrap this up real quick. The ice cream man is here. But I felt like we could have talked for an hour. She just, there was no publicist cutting in and saying, all right, that's it, you got to wrap it up. Right? I mean, it was just, I really love when people are like that, when it's not stuffy and professional, and they're not given programmed responses. And I feel like, when you get someone like that, or you get a family, like a lesbian, a cover story or whatever, I feel like they're so much more comfortable doing an interview, because it's Curve magazine, and they feel like they're wrapped up in a little hug, and they don't feel like, someone's trying to bait them or trying to get them to, to drop hot gossip or whatever. They just feel so
I might need to steal that, wrapped up in a little hug.
It is. I mean, that's the whole thing about the magazine. You open it up and it's like a big hug from the whole freaking community. It's fantastic. It's
Are you
amazing.
saying that you stopped the interview? You ended the interview because you heard the ice cream truck? Is that what I heard?
I think that's what she's saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I wanted to make sure I heard that right.
I told you we have no air conditioning here, right? I told you we have no air conditioning in London. When I heard that jingle, man,
12 days of the year that you're like, oh my God, my brain is, that's when you used to go to the public library.
Yeah. No, not here. There's nothing air conditioned. If there was a place aside from sitting in the car like a freaking idiot, I would do it, but no, yeah, I just was like, I had everything I needed. We were just BSing at that point, but I heard that jingle and I was like, I gotta go.
I think that's my favorite part of that story.
It was fun, but like ice cream, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of the questions I always wanted to ask, and believe me, I know like a lot of people that worked for the magazine over time,
Oh, I'm sure.
I always forget.
Small world.
Yeah. But I always forget to ask them, did you have a lot of like queer guys that wanted to work for the magazine, and what were your thoughts or feelings on that? Like gay boys coming saying, can I do this? Can I help? Can I work? Was there
Have some of that, but it was more like, the IT girl, the IT person was like, I got somebody to replace me, but he's a gay guy. I'm like, is he good with IT? Yeah.
Right.
Okay, great. And
Bring
he
him on
saved
board.
our ass. Like, you need somebody that can come at like 3 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
because you're trying to get a magazine out and,
Right.
the computer's just like, giving you the middle finger.
Yeah, I always wondered. I did. I just always wondered if there were like,
Yeah.
the gay guys that wanted to be a part of it in some small way.
Yeah.
Were they allowed?
Yeah. And then, we had some employees or spouses of employees that transitioned.
Yeah.
And so, they were definitely queer guys in the office,
Excellent.
but, it was very, it was like, imagine you're, in the 1990s and you're in San Francisco and you're working in an apartment full of lesbians, and I can't say that no one ever goes like, oh my God, it's so hot here. I got to take off my top, or one time I was on deadline and I came back from a dinner break and I put the key in the door and I started to open the door and I hear from upstairs, like, don't come in, do not come in. I was like, oh, everyone okay out there? Like, we're being intimate here. I'm like, somebody had brought their girlfriend.
I guess that happens too. When
No
I was
frowning
like,
upon them.
and then me, I was like, oh, okay, just, like, I'll come back in 25 minutes.
yeah,
I'd have been like, just keep it down.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's too funny. That's amazing. So do you feel like everything's going in a different direction? Do you feel it? Was there a big shift when our community kind of exploded?
I think it's still exploding, but I feel scared right now. There's so many laws being passed
Brutal.
or legislation going through now in the United States, trying
So
to
easily too. Unopposed, yeah, it's hard. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's without getting like so political, it feels like it's going in the wrong direction and it's spreading like wildfire. Like first it was Florida, then Alabama, then it's like one state after another goes, oh, if Florida could do it, we could do it. So yeah, well
right,
done.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it
sponsored by hate. I would say
sponsored by hate.
Sponsored by hate. I hate it.
Exactly.
I hate it. It's terrible to be a young person, and thinking that your parents can go to jail if they help you get medical attention, or if they help you, like take you to a doctor or whatever, and the doctor could go to jail. It's
It's wrong.
Filthy. Yeah, it's horrible.
Is Curve now a fully digital magazine? Is it active now as a magazine? Because you bought the magazine back, right?
I bought the magazine back and we turned it into the Curve Foundation. And
Okay.
whether a printed publication will be part of our mission or not is right now it's not. But we are, publishing online, but we're kind of taking a different perspective on it. A lot of what we're doing is in retrospect to articles we publish and, you know, how the issues have changed, what the climate is like now. So taking a look at what it was then and a fresh look now. So if, you know, this person was doing, you know, Cheryl Dunye was doing Watermelon Woman in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Where is she now? Oh my God, she just directed the final 2 episodes of Bridgerton.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Then,
Really? Oh my God.
you know, yeah, I have to give a shout out to her because that's impressive. So, you know, just taking a fresh look on things we've covered and a few things we haven't.
I like that
That's
approach.
cool. That's
I
really
like
cool.
that, you know, where are we now and where are they now and what's happening.
It helps you gauge progress and then the steps backwards, you know.
Yeah.
All this way forward, a couple of steps backwards. It's but it's a great way to condense that kind of information, you know.
Mhm.
That's great.
Mhm.
And I see Curve Media a lot. Is that something? Tell me
Curve
what
Media, I think, is just the like Facebook name for Curve Magazine online. Yeah, so there's the curvefoundation.org, and then there's Curve Magazine, and then there's Frankly Speaking Films, which my wife and her business partner used to produce films that tell our stories. So they directed and produced Ahead of the Curve. And they have a short in the San Francisco Film Festival in a week or so.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah. And a feature documentary, both things on queer, focusing around queer women.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
They must get inundated with stuff. People got to come to them all the time, right?
You know, I don't have that much to do with it. They just said, will you do this? And I was like, will I do a film about me? How much do you need to know? I like behind the camera better than in front of it.
Aw, but it's so good. See?
How was that working with your wife with that? How was that having your wife work on the film about you? Was that like cool to have that happening, or was it more like, oh, you know, it's putting a little strain here on us?
It never put a strain on us, but what it did do is it made me feel comfortable enough to like say, okay, you can ask some hard questions, where somebody else I'd just be like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that. Like my disability, like, yeah, I don't really want to talk about that. Let's, you know, focus on other things.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just said, you know what, if you're going to be the one to do it, you and Rivka, I trust you. You know, let's get vulnerable.
That had to be hard though.
Wow.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. Yeah, that's tough. But
and then you actually started the film with that kind of in the video part of it.
Yeah. So what happened was she had just started filming the movie, and she was about, I guess they were about 2/3 of the way done through it. And then we got the call saying, you know, Curve might not be able to make it from the current publisher. So she's like, oh, you know, like, we just got to follow the story and see how it turns out, what's going to happen with Curve and what does the community need now. So we kind of went down a little rabbit hole, and I learned a whole hell of a lot. And yeah,
that's good though, right?
Yes.
Good, though.
Yeah.
It's good. I think the amount of people that stepped up and were a part of it had to have been heartwarming, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's pretty incredible. But
Yeah.
that's the backbone of
Yeah.
you do that. People wouldn't question it. Like, yeah, I'll be involved. Like, yeah, what do you need from me? You know, that's the beauty of what you've, you know, what your garden has produced. Oh, how lesbian was that?
Oh, that was good. You're just like a Rolodex of like, I'm still in those quotes today.
Like a vegan goddess.
Wow.
Yes.
Are you burning patchouli in your apartment right now?
I actually worked in my garden today. That's why it's still in my brain. It's you know what, the thing of it is that you would be hard pressed to find a person, especially in our queer community, and say the word curve and have them not know what it is.
That's cool.
Like that's,
Right.
I think that is like, just like I said, iconic. It's legendary, and it's just, something that, right time, right atmosphere, and you surrounded yourself with really good people, and that is something to just be so proud of. It's a fantastic,
And such a need at that time too,
Yes.
so
Right.
it was
Yeah.
like the perfect storm, so to
Right.
speak,
right.
for what we did.
I
Thanks for
think
saying that.
the thing of it is like, we didn't have anything that was just ours, like we were sharing bars with the boys back then, their magazines and their bars and it just felt like we didn't have anything that was just ours. And here you created something and then shared it with just us, it's like, it was just, it was a great thing. Like I said, it meant the world to be mentioned. Like, it was just, you would have thought that we won an Academy Award. Like, that's how we felt. Like, it was just one of those things, like, it was just, and not that we didn't really know that you were doing an article about the top whatever, lesbian podcast. We didn't know. So that was what the big surprise was, because had we known, or people were voting or something, then pushing it down people's throats, but that's why I think it was a complete surprise to us that we felt like your writer had, listened to us and liked
Right.
us, or knew people that listened, to us. And that's why because we were number 2.
There you go.
Sure, we were
And
number
you couldn't
believe
bribe
that.
Curve magazine.
right. It's
You
so
know,
true.
I think I should say too, let you know that at the time when I was reading Curve and it was new, and I was married, and I was kind of coming into my realization of that I probably shouldn't be in this relationship. And, so here I am married to a man. And for me, I didn't have a lot of outlets to explore that part of who I was. So, because I got married so young. So I was
Just like me.
playing. What's that?
Just like me.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Was that in the,
We
was that
were
in
all
the
married to
documentary?
guys at one
How
point. Oh, wow.
I miss that?
Look at that
Well,
common
so-
thread.
So, right? So here I was. So maybe that's why you felt, is that why you felt there was a need for that? Because here I was, like, that was a great outlet for me. That was a really good place for me to go, was that magazine, because where I was playing in the bars. I was playing in the lesbian bars, whatever there was or if there was a night in the boy bar for the women,
Yes,
I was
that's
playing
more like
there.
it. That's more accurate.
And
Yep.
you guys had me on the show on the Lesbian Lounge so many times, and they used to tell me, when you come out, you got to be on our show first. When you
We
come
wanted
out,
the exclusive.
like-
We wanted the exclusive.
it was
and
like
we-
everyone knew, but I
We
didn't.
got it like 20 years
Everyone knew,
later.
right?
20 years later, we got it.
I mean, I was playing all the Pride Fest. I was playing any little place I could find where the women gathered. And so I appreciated Curve it was something for me to get information and be part of the community at
Get
that
a
point.
foot out of the
Right.
closet.
But-
Yeah. It seriously
But
got.
Well, that was just it. Like I was, I got married and divorced by the time I was, 21 years old, like really pretty early, not in today's,
Yeah.
Mhm.
early for marriage today, but not early to come out. And I was like, okay, where's the resources? How do I know what to do? And this and that. And I was like, wait, there's none? Like, what?
Like, damn it, I'm going to make my own. I'm going to make my own.
Damn it, I'm going to make my
Best
own. Somebody should
resource.
do this.
Yeah.
That is
Somebody should do this.
amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
What a burden, yet, and a huge undertaking. I shouldn't say a burden, but I mean, a huge undertaking. Because, when you come from a situation like that too, and you are looking for resources, I remember that being one of the most important things I felt like we were doing for our community, was like, we would every, week, we would pick a resource to highlight, whether it was a community center in you know, pick a place, Maine, any place that had a community center, we wanted to highlight that community center. And we talked about books, and we had authors, and we had, I mean, I can't, how many times we had.
So valuable.
Yeah, it was just, like, that was the thing that I think that we were all trying to do back then, in the early 2000s, and trying to, to fill that void. There was such a void. It's incredible when you look back, when you think about that, like there was such a void, and we're slowly starting to fill it all up. And that's
Yeah.
the beauty.
So I want to ask you both, what do you think is the biggest problem facing our community today?
For the women specifically,
Mhm.
or
Our lesbian community,
I think that
queer community.
me speaking for a person that likes to go out and see and gather where the women gather and see and hear music, like I don't know where the women's bars are, but they're like nowhere. And then when there is one, they still only have one night maybe for the women, and then they have a different theme to keep it going. Like, where are the women supporting bars for us to go to?
Yeah,
so that's
I got to agree with that. It's really difficult to find a venue, to gather. I mean, the WNBA. I mean, there's so nobody's going to basketball games anymore. That used to be a big thing.
Absolutely.
Bars are closing left and right. There's just so and it even I love. Don't get me wrong. I think community centers are the pulse. The heart of our community. But I also think that they're very oriented towards youth. And I feel like women in their 40s and 50s just get left behind. And that's why we do what we do, because
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
We found that people our age were having difficulty connecting, and that's why we do. And I still think that there's a need for that. You can't just
there's definitely a need for it.
Just push us by the wayside because we hit 50. Fuck you. Yeah, I do. I must agree. I think there's something in that, venues and age. Yeah, ageism is huge, man. It doesn't even matter if you're queer or not. Ageism is just awful.
That's why I love that you said with authors and storytellers that need help, finding resources. You don't have to necessarily be young. You just have to be new at it. And that you don't hear that. Like, you just don't hear that in anything in the world. So I think it's amazing that you see that and that you're offering that.
Yeah, it's huge. And there, there's always going to be a need for it, because there's always going to be somebody new coming out, old or young, that's not going to stop.
And it's also super cool because, like, one of our grantees is, writing for Sports Illustrated from a queer perspective. One of our grantees is writing scientific papers from a lesbian perspective. Like, hello, who would have even thought?
I was just going to say, 10 years ago, like, that just wouldn't even be a thing, 20 years ago, not even,
like, you better not even have that picture up on your desk.
I was going to say, people dared to dream 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Look at us now. I think that's the perfect way to end this is just look at us now. And what you're doing is helping us look back so we can appreciate where we are now. And
what you're doing is helping us look back and forward.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Jesus, thank you so much for being so generous with your time.
Thank you both.
We love what you're doing, and we're always going to love you.
Yeah.
Ditto. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks for the opportunity. Nice to speak to you guys.
Like, never stop chasing your dreams. There, see?
We drank way too much whiskey.